Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on ESSER II. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us this morning. Just a few reminders for those of you on the call. We will take your questions through the question box, so you can type those in there, and when there's time, Ellen and Kathy will answer some of your questions, but rest assured we will have all of your questions produced in a report, so we will know who's asked them if we don't get to them on this call. Additionally, the slides are located in the handout section, so you can download those from there. This webinar is being recorded and it will be posted to the CSDE website. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Kathy Dempsey, our Chief Financial Officer at the State Department of Education. Kathy.
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it. And good morning, everybody. I hope you are all well. We thank you for joining us. We thought that it would be helpful to take a little time and go through the ESSER II application, the priorities, what activities are eligible, and sense of where you can find the application, particularly in light of the fact that we had the change in funding, and so the application now looks a little bit different. I also have with me Dr. Ellen Stoltz, and I'm going to guess there are many of you on the call who actually know Dr. Stoltz. We are thrilled to have her. She is acting as a technical advisor to our application team internally, because for those of you who have dug into the application, it is much more intensive than ESSER I. ESSER I was definitely much a more generic application, but this time, in light of the fact that we've asked districts to develop a local needs assessment, and that there are specific priorities and goals that will be aligned with that, we have brought Ellen on board to give us a hand at the department with doing that. So just to start, the main principles that you will find on the guiding principles for the department that you will find on the application are 4 priority areas. There's the academic supports and learning acceleration, family and community connections, safety and social emotional well-being, remote learning, and bridging the digital divide. There's also on your application an other section. So if you have activities that you are planning to do that would not fall under one of the 4 priority areas, but are eligible for under the ESSER II funding activities, then the other area is a place for you to budget for those particular activities. We sent out to all of the districts prior to the application becoming live a needs assessment document that was developed by CAPS, and we were thrilled to have their support. It is our hope that you will use that document or one that you have locally to inform your application and what it is that you are applying for. I mean, in particular, I think this ESSER II statutory language requires districts to actually do a needs assessment, and has an expectation that the activities and strategies that you're funding are designed to meet the needs of the students. And so, yes. So we hope that that will be helpful for you. In terms of support structures, we have support that is being provided for all districts. Some of them, if they'd like a little bit more intensively, through CAPS. So I'm sure Fran Rabinowitz has reached out to all of you and spoken with you, and I believe communication has actually gone out from CAPS to all of you around the availability of the CAPS Technical Assistance Team. This is a group of retired former superintendents, administrators who have been willing to give time to work with superintendents and district administration on the completion of the applications, on taking a look at and deciding, what the needs are in your district and how these funds, along with your ESSER 1 funds, for those of you who haven't finished drawing down on your coronavirus relief funds, how to align those funds in order to meet your needs. They also are knowledgeable from their former roles about other types of federal funding and state funding that you get, and how you might be able to maximize the use of that funding to support the activities. And I'm hopeful, and we will continue talking with Fran about, since ARP ESSER or ESSER 3, which would have been simpler if they had named it ESSER 3 than ARP ESSER, but that will be coming shortly. And so I think that having this extra capacity in order to support you is a really great thing. And please reach out to Fran and CAPS if you are looking for some assistance. Even if it's just that you want to have a conversation and talk through some of your thinking with your team with one of them. I think that it's a really nice opportunity and not something that, we are able to normally provide. So internal to the agency, we have an application team. There are 8 members, program managers. Each of you has been assigned a program manager with your application. For many of you, it is the same program manager that you had under ESSER 1. But we were fortunate to be able to add 2 additional staff to support the ESSER 2 application process. So some of you will have a different program coordinator from the department for ESSER 1 and ESSER 2. But please don't worry about that. We all speak, we all know how to find each other, and we will make sure to support your needs, whether you are completing ESSER 1 or ESSER 2. Internally to the department, we've done 2 things to provide support to the application team. One of them is engaging Ellen, and the other is we have created around each of the 4 priorities internal capacity teams, so that as the applications are reviewed, if the application reviewer has questions that are specific to an area that might be outside of their expertise, then they have this pool of internal staff that they can turn to. So, and we will probably continue all of this through ARP ESSER, because I think that these supports will continue to be needed as we move ahead. But so I'm actually excited about that. I wanted to just talk to you briefly about the application and funding. Due to the revision in the calculation, the application now looks a little bit different. So when you go on to EGMS, our electronic grants management system, or when if you're one of your administrators or your school business official, you should expect to see the following. For those districts that are receiving a larger formula grant, you will continue to use the ESSER 2 application that was originally made available. The application has been updated with your new amounts, so it is a matter of distributing the additional funding across your priority levels and adding or supplementing the activities that you wanted to do, but it's the same application. For those of you who will be receiving formula funds, but are also receiving hold harmless amount of funding because you would have seen a reduction in your aid due to the recalculation. What you're going to do is you will also enter into your ESSER 2 application. Your ESSER 2 application now, though, will only show the amount of formula funds for distribution under the main section. And there will be an additional section that you will be able to access that specifically reads that it's your ESSER 2 state set-aside funds. That is where you can find your hold harmless dollars. Under the formula grant portion is where you will complete your goal setting and your for each priority. You will not need to redo those activities under the set aside piece of the grant. So all you will see under the set aside piece is a budget. So once you've figured out what the activities are and strategies that you want to fund, you do not have to repeat that activity for the funds that are available through the set aside. Let's see. And then the third option is for districts that are only receiving ESSER set aside funds. So you will also enter the application through the ESSER 2 application, but when your application comes up on the screen, you will not see a section for the formula grant portion of the grant. You will just see a section that reads ESSER 2 state set aside. And when you open that, you will see under there the same the state's 4 priorities along with the 5th other category, and you will be asked to complete the same types of things, setting goals, how you're going to meet those goals. So it's essentially the ESSER 2 formula application has been moved for you into the set aside fund application. And I apologize if that's confusing. And don't hesitate to reach out to us, to your program manager, or myself, and we will be happy to walk you through that. Now, the allowable uses for ESSER 2 are really pretty much the same as ESSER 1. There was 2 expansions that took place. One was around what I would call facilities type uses. So if you needed to redo your HVAC system for air quality, it specifically calls out activities like that as now being allowable uses under ESSER 2. The other area is the language was expanded was around the learning recovery and acceleration. And along with that piece, it does anticipate that districts, have done and completed that needs assessment locally in order to inform the decisions they're making about the strategies that they're aligning funds to. So those were the 2 main, and everything else is pretty much the same from ESSER 1, which I'm thankful for. I'm sure you all are thankful for too. One of the questions that the department has continued to field is around the idea of supplanting. And I know for many of you, this is budget season. Actually, for all of you, this is budget season. It's budget season for us at the state. Usually you finish a little bit in advance of us. And so I realized there's a lot of anxiety and unknown about setting your budget for the upcoming year and what you're going to need, how you're going to meet the needs of your students. And one of the concerns that has been raised to the department is that planting is not, is allowed under the ESSER grant funds. ESSER 1 and ESSER 2 do not specifically call that out in any of the guidance. Unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say that. ARP ESSER does specifically provide guidance saying that supplanting for operational costs is allowed. But what I'd like you to think about, and I think what's very important, is several things. And as you're having your conversation with your local community, is that one, they're going to still need to meet the MBR provisions. So MBR is going to continue on in statute. So that should offer some protection to your bottom line appropriation. It doesn't obviously resolve it to the extent that you have costs that are growing, but at least it should hold your baseline firm. Also, you need to keep in mind that you have maintenance of effort requirements for your other federal funds, Title, IDEA. So you cannot use these ESSER dollars in a way that would end up being to supplant local dollars and then attempt to use them as your match for, or your maintenance of effort requirement under your federal funds. So, please keep that in mind, that those requirements have not, around maintenance of effort, have not gone away at the federal level on your other programs and activities. Also, the activities that you fund need to be COVID related, and you need to be able to explain and document that. That will be part of the reporting requirement that we have to the feds, and we will be seeking that information from you in order to be able to respond appropriately to USED. And I would say the final thing is sustainability. One of the things I think we all worry about is, as we're using our ESSER II funding, to the extent that we attempt to cover costs that would normally have been funded with local funds, or we look to bring on additional capacity, these are time-limited funds. So you need to have a plan in place for what happens when they're no longer available. And that plan is very important because we have the opportunity with all of these funds to really do some, creative and amazing things in our districts to help students and to potentially change things for you moving forward. But I would just caution, be conscious of the idea of sustainability. However you plan to use these funds, that is going to be key. Will you be able to continue some of those important activities that you will start? Or if you use them to cover current operational costs, what happens when those funds are no longer available? Another question that we have been getting pretty frequently is around the timing of use of these funds. There is not and the confusion, I think, has come because as part of the governor's municipal aid runs, they demonstrated the ESSER II funds as being divided equally over the 2 years of the biennium when they did the runs to show you what ECS was going to look like. That split was illustrative of the fact that some of you are getting a lot, a significant amount of funding, and you absolutely, may well plan to utilize that funding over the 2-year cycle. However, it is not a limitation. You do not have to split your funds 50-50. You can use them at any time over the grant period in order to accomplish the goals of your and strategies that you want to implement in your application. So there is not a requirement that you split the funds between the 2 years. You have the entire grant period in order to utilize the funds to meet the needs as you actually have them on the ground. And I promise you I won't talk too much longer. I'm going to turn it over to Ellen. We're going to have Ellen talk about, setting SMART goals and priorities, and to give you a sense of what we'll be looking for on the applications as we review them. As Michelle said at the start of the presentation, we will take all of your questions from the chat. If we don't get to some of them today, we plan on creating an FAQ document out of them that will be made available And we will also provide further assistance. We're currently working on a tool that I think might be helpful for those of you who have multiple sources of state and federal funding, to take a look at how you can align those sources of funding with the activities that you want to do and spend your ESSER funds on. So I am now going to turn it over to Ellen, and she'll talk to you for a little bit about creating SMART goals. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, Kathy. And I want to echo as we move into creating SMART goals, which seems like a very practical, pragmatic way of presenting to you. But I think that as we enter this part of the discussion, to use some of Kathy's thoughts around creating alignment and sustainability, especially for the districts out there that do have multiple grants and always have a focus on accelerating learning on behalf of our target or special populations. So I'd like to start this with just a thought about SMART goals, and knowing that we do have some special educators formerly, as well as general educators in the audience, that you recognize that SMART goals have really been around for quite a number of years. And certainly SMART goals have been a part of IEPs for decades now. And so as you're looking at your needs assessment, which I actually have in front of me here, just to see what the work is, right? I've spoken to several of you about that work. SMART goals can really help as an actual strategy. And how I view SMART goals as we look at the elements, and I give you an example that you can steal, right, and use and customize for your own grant. It's not only ESSER 2, although our focus right now is ESSER 2, but I look at SMART goals as a way that they can really bring all your grants together, as well as all of your practices at the district level, at the school level, and even at the classroom level. So it is an opportunity to create alignment as to what we're looking at short term with emergency funds and long term with sustainability in mind. So these are the 5 parts of a SMART goal. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. I've kind of customized these with ESSER 2 in mind, but they are specific. And the more specific you are, while still having a broad approach, and you'll see that in the sample as we move forward in the slides, you will see how that can really help you to hone deeply into your state level priorities. I always look at priority 1, and that's the one that we're using here. So as you look at your other 3 priorities, of course, that formula of writing a SMART goal will be appropriate to that. In thinking about accountability, we're educators, we know accountability happens. So just go into this whole process with a mindfulness, even if we don't know exactly what the accountability measures might be. They are stated in your needs assessment, quantitative and qualitative. So you want to make sure that you have those measures in your mind, as we would from the district level, looking at perhaps a corrective action plan, a district accountability plan, how we measure what we've done. Of course, we want this achievable and attainable, specific to ESSER 2 within the time frame of the grant. So right now, I'm thinking it's September 2023 is the end of the grant. I've made notes of that. So we just want to be mindful of what school looks like between now or when funds are available for summer learning and beyond. Also, we want this to be relevant. There is a authorized uses document. I know it's in the e-grant system so that you can read that in case you need to review it. But those authorized use activities give great suggestions as to how to proceed. And then, as I said, timely. Now, if you Google SMART goals, you're going to find different words that begin with S, M, A, R, T, but they all are saying the same thing. So what I've done for you, if you need a sample, I am a believer, let's not recreate the wheel. We've been writing SMART goals for a long time. So what I've put here is a sample for you to use. Of course, the students in my heart are always the ones at-risk readers, students that need to accelerate learning for whatever reason, but I'm focused here because I know that these areas affect not only ESSER 2, but they also affect IDEA. They affect your school improvement grants if you're in an Alliance district or Commissioners Network school. These are things that we get cited for, right? So you can read it for yourself, but I selected students with disabilities and students who are chronically absent, because in looking at the strategy that you'll see from emanating from Priority 1, this has been a problem across all districts, right? Not just in Connecticut, but I think across the world. Michelle? Thank you. So if we're looking at the first part of this, and you'll see it all come together with a focus on students with learning disabilities, who many districts are cited for over-identification, so it's important to focus on them. We're looking at a big measure here so that every school in your district feeds into this measure, right? But if you were to look at this from the broad view, then we're looking at, obviously, our ELA performance index, looking at high need students. We all have this index to look at. So if you haven't seen it lately, even though some of the data is from 2018-19 when we last took Smarter Balance, then you know that you could effectively increase ELA performance from the measures for your own district. Now, that seems like a big goal, and how does it link to students with disabilities? Well, obviously, this piece of it could be any population. You want students in school, and you want them to improve their English language arts. Michelle? And by the way, that slide was only quantitative data. You certainly could do qualitative data, surveys, student surveys, opinions, other evidence that you could collect along the way. And that it's achievable and attainable. And so you'll see the slash marks here, because as superintendents, you can think about, what does my district look like? Well, your district looks like how your schools look like, right? And your classrooms with students. So within the time frame, hopefully beginning 2021, if not June 2021 or earlier, that's obviously whatever happens with the dissemination of funds here. Kathy's side. Michelle? And that everything you're doing is relevant to the grant and the state level priorities. So in thinking about this and in my communication with districts, it's looking at, by example, what if we have engaging instruction in small groups where students are engaged in projects relevant to standards, of course, and also using state-of-the-art informational text. We know that that can be theme-based, technology-based, science-based, whatever theme we may choose, especially for summer learning. And then also using state-of-the-art learning platforms. Perfect opportunity, as our teachers have spent so much time mastering these learning platforms. We know what works, we know what doesn't work. And so now we have an opportunity to focus on these populations and have an instructional strategy that goes with it that's relevant to the intent of the grant and addresses those 4 state level priorities. Michelle? And time-based. So again, this could be flexible, but right now we know that it ends for the ESSER II grant funds June or September. I think it's September of 2023. So as you create your SMART goal examples, Michelle, next slide, you will see that this all comes together. So if we're looking at priority 1, academic support, learning loss, learning acceleration, and recovery, every element of what we just discussed of those 5 slides is put together here. Now that's a really long sentence, and I tended to start with S and end with T. I'm an abstract sequential thinker. But you may want to put your time frame together. However you use this, it's just meant to be an example for you. And I'm sure that with your teams, you can sit down and create fabulous SMART goals, but at least now you have a way of thinking about those SMART goals derived from the content of your needs assessment. May not be in every priority, but in the priorities that you select, you know that you can write a well-designed SMART goal in whatever order you choose. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much, Ellen. See, I'm so happy to have Ellen to talk about all the educational things that you all are experts in, and I am not. We would like to open it up for questions. Michelle had invited you to put questions in the comment chat section, which we will take some time to answer now. As I said, if we don't get to all of them for some reason, then we are keeping a transcript of the questions and we'll be generating FAQs based on the questions. And please, again, don't hesitate to call your program manager or call myself. You know, we will assist you in any way that we can.
Okay, we have quite a few questions that have come in on different aspects, so why don't we get right to them. We have a question from Tyrone. When will we get a response from a submitted application?
So the application period closes on April 19th. As applications come in, the program managers are beginning to review them. It is our goal to turn them around as quickly as possible. I don't want to give a specific number of days, but please know that this is something that we are attempting to be very timely with, particularly because we will have to be releasing the ARP ESSER application not long from now. And we know that you all have a lot on your plate. So as they come in, we will review them. The application deadline is the 19th, and it is our goal to turn them around as quickly as possible.
Thanks. We have a question from Philip wanting to know how charter schools could obtain support that CAPS is providing for public schools.
Excellent question, Philip. I will do a little due diligence back at the office and find out how we can ensure that you receive the support. Our charter school programs receive some additional support also, similar to what CAPS is offering.
Thanks. This question I've actually heard, and maybe it's probably something that's being discussed in the department, but school leaders are trying to budget for next year. They want to know about remote teaching and support. Are they expecting to provide this for next year? Are they going to know before the April 19th deadline on whether this is something they need to provide the full remote for students next year?
So I think that is a question that is on everybody's mind. Michelle, like you, I certainly have been hearing that question. Please know that that is something we are working on, and that the goal is to get a response out to districts as quickly as possible. I can't commit to the April 19th date, but that is something that we are actively working on right now.
Thanks. I have a question from Anne, who wants to know if you could confirm that the needs assessment is an internal school district document and does not need to be submitted with the application.
No, it does not need to be submitted with the application. It's designed as a tool to assist with your thinking as you complete the application.
Great, thanks. This one is, it's so tricky, I think, sometimes even as a grant manager to understand this, but can you go over supplanting and supplementing again?
Sure, I will do my best. As I said, I mean, there's no specific language in the federal law for ESSER 1, ESSER 2, or ESSER 3 that forbids supplanting. So, for example, let's say in order to keep some of your paras employed because you've had a revenue loss at the district level because you have many other expenditures that have come up because of COVID, you could use these funds to retain those paraprofessionals. And it would not be, even though they would have previously been paid for with state or local sources, it would not be considered supplanting if you were to use those funds to pay for those types of activities. I mean, supplementing, I think, is, to the extent that your budget allows, we encourage you to take the opportunity of having these additional funds to do things that will be meaningful to your students and the outcomes that your students experience. I mean, I think I certainly am not telling anybody anything by saying that this is a crazy year and has been a crazy year. I have a senior in high school. I'm just very grateful that he isn't in first grade and learning how to read. But to the extent possible, if you can use these funds for activities that will accelerate learning, that will address social emotional needs that have come up during the past year, that would be our desire for what we would see in your plans. And I don't know if Ellen, you have anything that you might like to offer about them as they're thinking about it, having come from the local perspective. And I'm putting her on the spot, so I will apologize up front. Ellen, you've got to unmute.
Thanks for the reminder there. How I would respond to that, Kathy, is, of course, looking at sustainability. There may be years, like with ESSER 2, as what you're saying, where you can supplant. That's not going to be forever. So it always brings me back to, what do classrooms need? What do teachers need? What do students need? We have to have that continuous focus on every student, but specific to the diversity of grants out there, we need to focus on those special targeted populations that come through ESSER 2. So I think you just have to have the mindfulness of not doing a 180 every year because of funding, right? So that's my thinking, is how is this going to present itself in a classroom for 3 to 5 years? Because it takes those years to improve any school.
Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate it.
Okay, we have a question from my friend Christine Carver. Do you know if the grant will be extended an extra year to be 3 years, Kathy?
ESSER 2 does have the Tidings Amendment provision. So you will have to have all the activities and the things you want to do obligated, but then you will have the extended time of the additional year to actually pay for those activities.
Thank you. This is a real kind of a broad question, but so when districts are writing goals, as we know, there's been a disruption in learning and things have happened differently. How do they address meeting the goals and setting the goals in the midst of the pandemic and the disruption of learning?
I'm going to ask Ellen to see if she can.
I'll jump right in on that one, Kathy.
Thank you.
So from my perspective, the more everyone in your district is focused on achieving those goals, so everybody's headed in the same direction, the more bang for your buck. So if you take the SMART goal that we just reviewed, and you know that it's not only your cabinet level that's thinking about that goal, but it's translated to what principals are writing for their own goals, what teachers are writing, and there's no reason why students can't have those same goals. So if you bring it down to or up, I always look at central office at the bottom holding up the district, but if you bring it to every level of your district, that's where you're going to see the most bang for your buck, because everybody has that in mind. And I do think that that's regardless of in-person, remote, hybrid. Teachers teach. It's what we do. So to me, that's the focus. And achieving our goals, yes. Will there be accountability for not? I don't know, but at least showing that progress and growth is critical.
Great, thanks. I think this one's a simple one. When will the funds be disseminated?
So as soon as your application has been approved, you can begin the drawdown cycle for the funding. So it'll follow your normal access to the grant cash cycle once a month.
Thank you. This is about SMART goals, and it's in relation to things that don't have to do with academics and the usual kinds of things you would write a SMART goal. How would they write that type of a goal for something like an HVAC system? And what do they do for examples like that for the grant?
I think that's a great question. And in fact, as I was looking through the authorized uses of ESSER and trying to align them with the priorities, obviously having an HVAC system, what I might do is the SMART goal is not related to achievement directly. I mean, obviously you have to be in a safe building in order to house students safely. I might look at as a result of the data that gets fed around, as I used to say at MD Fox, the boiler room, what happened with that data and information, and what was the air quality before a system was checked, monitored, changed, upgraded, updated. What was it before and what is it now, or even measuring along the way. I know there were certain things that I had to sign off on that happened every month with regard to maintenance of air filtration. That's what I would use as my data. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. All right. Has there been any consideration for extending the timeline for the due date for these?
So the deadline was extended from April 5th to the 19th. What I would say is that if you are struggling to complete the application, because we understand that things are not normal and functioning the way they might normally, please reach out to myself, your program manager, and let us know the circumstance. We can certainly work with you and continue the process beyond the 19th. I mean, our goal is to help you get the best plan in place to meet your students' needs. And we also have an expectation, and I meant to say this earlier, that as you learn on the ground and, as you start having summer activities, going back to school in the fall, we do expect that you will probably need modifications to your grant application based on what you're seeing. So we anticipate that, and we are here to help you work through that. But I would not be overly anxious about the application deadline. If you have a need to go longer than that, please just let us know.
Great, thanks. This one kind of goes back to the SMART goals and setting goals. As we know, we didn't do accountability last year. There was no state assessments that happened. So the numbers that districts have right now are pre-pandemic numbers, even though we are moving forward with assessments this year, although, there's caveats. We have kids that are fully remote, et cetera. So what are the expectations regarding districts' use of state accountability measures, knowing that our current numbers are pre-pandemic?
That's a great question. And because I'm here for technical support, I will make it my focus to reach out to the people at the state who could actually give a viable answer to that question. But in the meantime, I would just suggest act as if, as the some of the action plans that I look at do have old data, and we are looking at that continuous growth, but the measures have been absent. So until we have a noteworthy response, which I will pursue and get through Kathy for all the participants on this, I would just say act as if.
Thank you, Ellen.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple questions that bring us back to the question about remote learning, since we don't know, what the CSDE stance is on that, or what the state of Connecticut, the governor, et cetera. So let me ask again. You might have already mentioned this, but will they be allowed to revise their application, change their budgets based on the kind of guidance that comes out if it happens after April 19th?
Absolutely. As I said, I know that the conditions are changing on the ground, and they're changing at the state in regards to the public health needs. So we anticipate that districts will need to modify their applications to adjust to what is actually happening. So we are your partner in this.
Thanks. Yeah, so I have a question from Bob asking, do we have a projected date for the opening submission dates of ARP ESSER?
ARP ESSER. We do not yet have a projected opening date. What I will say is last week we received an allocation of 2/3 of Connecticut's ARP ESSER grant fund, so a little over $700 million. The second that we received that allocation, it began a clock for us of 60 days. And in that 60 days, we need to generate the calculation and share with all of you the allocation and begin to have an application available. So it will happen quicker rather than later. We are just now starting to work on that application. For information's sake, something that you should know, the 2/3 that was retained by USED, it is in anticipation of asking the state to submit a state plan and a state application to have those funds released. That process, they're going to give us 45 days for, and it anticipates that we get stakeholder feedback before we submit it. So that will be kind of the part 2 for this. But in the meantime, for the first 2/3 of the funding that's been made available, as of last Wednesday, the 60-day clock has started ticking. So we are working on getting something out to all of you.
Thanks. And excuse my ignorance if I don't know this, but and maybe you already mentioned it, but when will we get ESSER 3 awards? That's the question.
Okay. So ESSER 3 is actually ARP ESSER, and I actually wish they had called it ESSER 3. It would have just been simpler than calling it ARP ESSER. So as I just said, our notification of the receipt of the 2/3 of the funding last week has started the clock for us to begin the calculation to get out to all of you as to what your allocation will be, and in the meantime develop an application for you to begin accessing those funds. So I would say that you would have what your allocation is shortly in the next week and a half to 2 weeks. The application itself will take a little bit longer for us to get out.
Well, look at that. I learned something new. ESSER ARP is not ESSER 3, but it's ESSER 3. I don't know. Okay, so thank you. There is a question about the funds for ESSER 2. Can they be used to make food programs whole because of the loss of revenue? If so, does it fall in the other section rather than under a priority goal?
Good question. And actually, the food service question has definitely been one that has been circulating. I think I've probably talked to CASBO on multiple occasions about it. I believe it was 3 weeks to a month ago, we went back to USED and asked for further clarification around the use of the food service, ESSER funds to support food service. And specifically in terms of revenue loss. So if your program is operating at a deficit because of the extended needs that you're facing for COVID, or if you need to be able to continue to pay your food service workers, then those are absolutely eligible uses for ESSER 2 funds. So as long as you're in the black, it's not meant to make up revenue that you would have received, because I know that you provide like snacks or other things, catering services that generate revenue, but it does not anticipate making up for the loss of the revenue you would normally have generated through those activities. But if you are running a shortfall in your program, then these are absolutely, it is absolutely appropriate. And I would suggest, I don't know, what do you think, Ellen? Maybe the other category for that? Yeah, I think under probably the 5th category, which is other.
Okay, thanks. Can you explain what specifically the tidings amendment really means? For example, if I'm paying for staff with ESSER 2, can I use ESSER 2 funds in 22-23?
Yes. Because ESSER 2 continues through 2023. What it wouldn't anticipate, and we'll actually provide clarification in the, I'll make sure this is something we address in the FAQs, is what the tidings allows is for expenditure of the funds for another year beyond that. So to the extent that, let's say you had I'll just, because it's simple, ordered technology, and it is delivered at some point within the grant period, but you don't receive the invoice for it until post September 30th, 2023, then you are allowed to continue to use those ESSER 2 funds to pay those obligations, but the obligations have to occur prior to that. And like I said, I will make sure that that is something that we send out some specific clarification on for everybody.
Okay. There's a question about retention of staff. The question is, as long as it aligns with state priorities and we can show a SMART goal and plan, can we explicitly say we'd like to retain staff using the funds?
Yes, I mean, retaining staff using the funds is an eligible activity under the ESSER II funds. And I'm assuming that you're aligning them to the goals, whether it be safety because for a physical distancing reason, or ensuring additional support for your students academically. Those would certainly be appropriate.
Okay, can you explain the difference, if any, between the state set aside and hold harmless, and what should be entered in the e-grants management under the SSA narrative and budget?
Okay, so there is no difference between hold harmless and state set aside. We've been using the two interchangeably. So essentially, the state set aside is funding that the state was allowed to reserve from the grant. And it is those funds, a portion of those funds, that we are making available in order to hold harmless any district that would have seen a loss in revenue based on the recalculation. And Michelle, would you mind reading the second part of the question again?
Yeah, let me just find it again. I was like kind of going through them and like organizing them as I read them to you. Oh shoot. I think it was where do you find that? What do you fill in for the, let me find it and I'll come in the e-grants management system.
So depending upon how you're getting the funds, so if you are a district that is getting a regular allocation of ESSER II funds based on your Title I eligibility, then you will complete the narrative sections under that regular allocation. And all you'll need to complete under the ESSER set-aside piece is the budget that aligns with the narrative that you've already provided for the ESSER formula funds. If you're only receiving set-aside funds, then all of those narrative sections have been moved down for you to complete as part of the state set-aside fund application. So I'm hoping that's helpful.
I guess I would reiterate to everyone on the call that you could reach out to your program manager that's assigned to you at the department with any of these specific questions, and they would be able to get back to you if they didn't know the answer. We're getting still a lot more questions, but I know we're at time. So do you want to take some more, or do you want to just follow up with people who've asked the questions?
So Michelle, why don't we do one more, because I want to honor everybody's time. And we will, as Michelle said, we are keeping all of the questions and we will generate an FAQ based on them. Or if you are more comfortable reaching out to your program manager, please do. You can always reach out to me also. If I don't know the answer to the question, I have Ellen or I have the program managers, thankfully, for support. So why don't we do one more and then we'll wrap up.
All right, this one is in relation to writing SMART goals. So can ESSER II be used to perform capital improvements, for example, expansion of an office area, which would allow staff to be removed from a school and free up space for students in a school to receive interventions and supports? How can this be written as a SMART goal? Is a SMART goal necessary for the quote unquote other section?
That's a great question. And Kathy, I think that is the bridge between what you do and what I do, so I can address the academic outcomes, of course, for that would align in multiple areas. And I think that type of thinking where you're looking at a capital improvement, you're looking at air quality, and you're looking at providing small group instruction, that kind of checks all boxes. So I would almost, I don't know, Kathy, if you would advise this, but I think you could use one SMART goal in each section. So you might say, off the top of my head, by using ESSER funds to improve air quality and space, small group instruction provided to specific students will accomplish whatever your goal is there by whatever the date is. That's my thinking, Kathy. What would you advise?
Yeah. No, I think that actually makes a lot of sense. And to the extent that you can link it back to those activities that are supporting the students as we sort of recover or move forward from COVID, then I think that certainly would align with the goals, the priority goals. And so I want to thank Michelle for being our behind the scenes, keep us on track technical assistance. And I would like to thank Ellen for joining me today and helping me answer all of your questions. And I thank all of you for joining. I appreciate all of your questions. We will, as I said, follow up on the ones we haven't gotten to, or even to provide additional information or clarification about the ones that I responded to, but maybe didn't think of everything off the top of my head. And I appreciate, as always, your efforts on behalf of our kids. And I wish you all a lovely long weekend. And thank you so much. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everyone.